It's July 5th, 2024. I hope everybody had a good 4th of July. We've got some weather to talk about, so that's why I'm here. We've got Hurricane Beryl over here over the Yucatan Peninsula, just hit Cancun not too long ago as a Category 2 hurricane. It's going to cross over the peninsula back into the Gulf of Mexico here shortly. Looks like it's going to re-intensify a little bit. You know, I don't think it's going to re-intensify into like a Category 4 or a 5 like it was before. It's going to weaken quite a bit over the peninsula here. It's going to become probably a low-end hurricane or even a tropical storm before it gets back over water, and then it's going to have a pretty rough time reaching Category 2 status again, I think, before making it back over there towards Texas. Moving pretty fast. If it was a little bit slower, it would probably have the chance of rapidly intensifying again. But this is what it looks like right now. Very organized, and we expect that organization to decrease even more the longer it's over land, but it's going to get back over water. This is Hurricane Beryl's expected path. As you can tell, right now it's Category 2, 100-mile-per-hour winds. We had 138-mile-per-hour wind gust at some point within the past 24 hours or so, and it's moving west-northwest at 15 miles per hour. That doesn't seem fast, but look, this is expected to be on the shore of extreme southern Texas by Monday around 6 a.m. This isn't too far away. It's just going to take the weekend to get over there. Now, the forecast right now is for this to make landfall as around a Category 1 hurricane. I do think that that is conservative, especially if this goes a little bit farther north. So you see the yellow cone there. If this goes farther north on that cone and it stays over water a little bit longer and makes landfall closer to Houston or Corpus Christi, this is almost certainly going to be a Category 2 kind of storm. The farther south that it goes and the sooner it makes landfall, the more likely it is that this is going to be a Category 1, maybe even a low-end Category 1 hurricane. But Corpus Christi, Houston, Galveston, all you guys need to be preparing for a hurricane landfall as we go into early next week. Some of the latest model trends are trending a little bit farther north. We're seeing a lot of these plots kind of suggest that we're going to see a landfall somewhere between Corpus Christi and Houston. Now, this is not exact. I do think that there's still a good chance that this makes landfall a little bit farther south, which would be a better scenario. There is a couple different models that's suggesting that this is going to go farther north and stay over the very warm Gulf of Mexico longer. That's going to allow it to become stronger again. So we're keeping a very close eye on it. After this makes landfall in Texas, it's going to slowly but surely go all the way up over the mid-Mississippi River Valley, up across the Ohio River, way up into the northeast, bringing showers and storms to millions of people across the eastern U.S. But of course, the area that we're most concerned with is right there on the coast of Texas. The good news is, the other day, it was looking like we were having an explosion of tropical activity, but a lot of that stuff has calmed down. In fact, the National Hurricane Center isn't watching anything right now other than Beryl. So our next storm is not in view, at least for the next 7 days. So that's good news. However, I do think that we're going to see another increased period of activity as we go into a couple weeks from now. So don't let your guard down if you're along the coast and it doesn't look like Beryl's going to affect you. This is going to continue to be an active hurricane season, and this is just the appetizer. Of course, as new updates come out about Hurricane Beryl, we're going to be updating you here. And if this makes landfall in the U.S. as a Category 1 hurricane or higher, we will be live here on this channel. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on so you can be here for that. Now back here on the mainland, we've got a slight chance of severe weather today in my neck of the woods over here in eastern Kentucky, over towards West Virginia. We've got Blacksburg, Virginia, Johnson City, Tennessee, Kingsport, Tennessee, under the gun there for severe weather, and a marginal risk for a bunch of people from Canada all the way down into the Atlanta area. Maybe some large hail over there in New Mexico and Montana as well. As we go into tomorrow, there's another slight risk of severe weather in Nebraska and Kansas. This is mostly driven by a hail risk, meaning that we could see large hail in excess of 2 inches in diameter, especially in Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado there. And then all the way out on the day 3 outlook, the day after tomorrow here, we've got about 2.3 million people under the gun for severe weather in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas. Hail seems to be the main threat here. The tornado threat is not so much. However, we're keeping an eye on it, and we will update you if that changes. Here's what that weather radar could look like today around 4 p.m. as strong storms are moving through my neck of the woods, and some heavy rain producers are happening down here in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. We're also going to have some rumbles of thunder up there in Michigan, over into southern portions of Ontario. Storms really fizzle out tonight into the early morning hours on Saturday. These are all driven by the heating of the day, so once we lose that, it kind of goes away. We are going to see some heavy rain, though, early in the morning in the Appalachian Mountains over there in upstate New York, over towards Vermont, New Hampshire. About 9-10 a.m., you might get woken up by some heavy rain and some thunder on your Saturday over there in the Northeast. But shift your attention down to the Gulf of Mexico, that big blob of moisture and activity down there. That's Hurricane Beryl as it's barreling towards the extreme southern extent of Texas. We're also going to have that slight risk of severe weather, pretty obvious here in Nebraska and Kansas as we go into the afternoon hours on Saturday. And then it's that time of year where we see pulse storms almost every single day in this region of the U.S. So a scattered shower or thunderstorm cannot be ruled out in places like North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, over towards Louisiana and Mississippi as well. The more organized severe weather, though, is obviously going to be up here in Kansas at 8 p.m., where we will be seeing some straight line damaging winds. And then look at Hurricane Beryl just meandering down there. HRRR, it looks like it's pointing towards a much more southern landfall, which is good news. We don't want to see this thing stay over water too long, but still, HRRR is pretty much on board with the National Hurricane Center saying that landfall is going to happen somewhere down here in extreme southern Texas. So prepare for that. The biggest threat here with a Category 1 hurricane, which is likely what it's going to be, is going to be strong winds and some coastal flooding. This doesn't look like it's going to be anything catastrophic, but definitely go through your hurricane preparedness plan if you're down here, just in case this thing pulls a 2024. You guys know how this year has been. It doesn't always go as planned. Looking deeper into the future, our jet stream pattern is going to get really interesting here. Once our storm makes landfall, we're going to see a big dip in the jet stream, allowing for cool air to sink into the central U.S. and also lots of rain-cooled air and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, all kind of converging around this area here, leading to a lot of rain and some welcomed cool air from Texas all the way up into the upper Midwest. And look at how all that moisture from our hurricane just kind of meets up with that and then gets flung up to the north and east. I think that this is going to lead to a pretty stormy and rainy pattern in this area right here as we go into the middle and even, maybe even into the latter part of next week, as the trough continues to hang around for quite some time, leading to cooler air in the central and eastern U.S. There's a huge ridge building in the western U.S. going to lead to a heat wave in the desert southwest. Some of the hottest temperatures we've seen so far this year are going to be possible. Maybe some rain on the northern side of that up here near the British Columbia area down into the Pacific Northwest. And then if I pull this all the way out, nothing really changes except for everything kind of smooths out. The ridge is going to get bigger, the trough's going to get bigger, and there's going to be more of a zonal kind of flow. So the cool air will be less intense and the warm air will be less intense, but more widespread as we go towards Sunday, July 14th, 2024. Climate Prediction Center is pretty much saying the same exact thing. Look out for increased rainfall, lots of storminess over the next 6 to 10 days from portions of Texas all the way up into the East Coast. I mean, there's going to be lots of rain, especially right in this corridor right here. Flash flooding is even going to be a risk that we have to be concerned about, and quite a bit not so much rain up here in the northwest, and especially under that ridge there where we're going to be experiencing some very dry conditions. Temperatures, 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Heat wave once again in the west, and some very welcomed cool air in the central U.S., aided by that trough and also just by the amount of cloud cover and rain that we're going to be getting down here. The sun's not going to have time to heat up the surface very much, so things are going to be much cooler as we go through the next week or so. Hey, it's been a second since we've talked about the Y'all Squad. We've been busy. We're still working from our incredibly busy tornado season. We're still out there doing Y'all Squad stuff right now. Thanks to you guys, we raised like $300,000 in the month of May, and we've been putting that money to work. We haven't released any new videos yet, but we're starting to get there. We're getting close to where if you go over to the y'allsquad.org, you'll see our latest video here pop up. And then also we've got the Y'all Squad YouTube channel if you want to go subscribe to that. And of course, if you're feeling generous and you want to help us help even more people who have been hit by severe weather, whether it be tornadoes or, unfortunately, we might have to do some stuff for hurricanes this year. If you want to help us prepare for that, go to the y'allsquad.org and hit the donate button, and you can make a tax-deductible donation to our official 501c3 nonprofit organization that we set up specifically to help people that are negatively impacted by severe weather. You can do a one-time or a monthly contribution over here, and we would appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for helping us out with this, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Ooh.